Hi guys, John here. We got a question in the community where somebody is asking how can they confirm the assignment group type of a user within a business rule condition. Now, as I read this, I wasn't 100% sure if they were talking about the assignment group that's on the incident itself, or if they were a part of any group that might have a particular type. So I'm going to cover both of those scenarios in this, starting with the easiest one, looking at the assignment group on the incident itself. Now, what I've done is I've created a test group, and one of the things mentioned in the question on the community was they weren't seeing the task type the group type field on the group. So they thought maybe it might be custom. So actually what you need to do is configure the form layout and add that field to the form. So as I wait for this to load, come down here and you add type, and you can really add that wherever you want on the form. I'm going to put it right here and save this. We can see now that the type is here. Now I've created a test type, and I've also given it ITIL. ITIL, by giving it ITIL, it allows that group to be picked within an incident. And then test type is just our type that we're going to validate our script against to illustrate how we can look for this. Now, as we're doing this, again, as I mentioned, the easiest way is going to be the scenario where we're looking for the task or the group type of the specific assignment group on the incident. And that can be done pretty simply within a business rule if you just do an on, and I'm going to do an on before business rule for insert or update, and you can choose assignment group dot type. Now the way you get to this is by, if you scroll down and you choose show related fields, and then you go down to assignment group, and you pick the one with the arrow that will show the fields for the group fields, then you scroll down and choose type. And now this will say contains, and the reason why it says contains instead of equals is type is a list field that actually holds a comma separated array of sys IDs for different types. So what we're going to do is we'll click on this, so we'll get the list of types, and we're going to choose test type. This is the test type that I created, and I'm going to save this. Now what we're going to do, just to illustrate whether this is working or not, you mentioned that you wanted to do a just something, right? You wanted to run something for this user whenever they saved. And so all we're going to do to illustrate that this is finding that particular group type is give a message on the screen that this user is a member of the group that has the test type group type. Now as I look at an incident, and I come in here and I choose the test group, we know that that has that, and I'm going to say able tutor, who's a member of that group. When I save this, that business rule is going to look at it, and it's going to see that, and it's going to pull this up. Now to illustrate, if I pull up a different assignment group and grab a user from that group and I save it, now that doesn't have that type, we don't get the message. So the business rule we know is working. So that's how you would find it based on the assignment group in itself. Now, if we were looking at the other scenario where we aren't looking to the assignment group, but we're just wanting to know, is the user a member of any group that happens to have that type? It gets to be just slightly more complicated, but I'm going to turn this business rule off. I'm going to deactivate that. And I have a second one that I've created that I'm going to activate, and this one really is doing something similar. Now the difference is, instead of putting the conditions in here, every time that it's inserted or updated, it actually is going to run this condition. Now what I've done is I've created a script include that is going to take the current assigned to user, and it's going to also pass the sysid of the group type that we're looking for. Now, as we look at this, this is the script include that I've created. And all we're doing is querying the sysuser group member table. And we're checking where the group type contains, it says like, that means it has that sysid within it, just like we did before. And it's also going to look for anywhere the user is the username that, or the user sysid that was passed in this script. So now we're going to do a query that's based specifically on the assigned to user, and it's going to query that group member table to see if that user is a member of any groups that happen to be of that group type. If it finds a result, it's going to return true, and if it doesn't, it's going to return false. And so as we look at this condition, the condition is always looking for true. If it finds true, then it executes what's in the script. If it gets a false response, it will not execute what's in the script. So as we look at this, now I go back to it, we're running this business rule, and I go back to this incident, and I assign this to Andrew again. And if I save this, we don't get the message. But if I come back here and I then give this again to Able Tutor, and I save this, we see that he's a member of a group that contains test type, group type. So that's, again, now looking to see all the groups that he's a member of, and then giving us that member or that message if he's a part of any of them. So hopefully that explains how this works. There's two ways of doing it. One is if you're looking just specifically at the assignment group, that's the simplest way. You can use the query builder within the business rule. And if you're looking to do a deeper dive and see if he's a member of any groups that happen to have this, then you would use the script include and call that from the business rule condition. Let me know if you have any other questions. I'd be glad to help out.